There's only the one way out, sir. You know that by now. And I'm always here. One side of the door or the other.
Why am I being kept here?
I just came in to see what sort of a hot drink you like tonight, sir.
When am I going to be released?
We've got warm milk, hot chocolate or coffee.
What have I done that I should be kept under guard day and night?
Now, personally, I recommend the warm milk. True, it does lie in your belly a bit, makes you feel a bit sick sometimes, but the coffee keeps you awake and chocolate's very fattening.
When is my case going to be considered?
Your case, sir?
Well, my situation, being kept here all the time.
Well, I don't know anything about that, sir. As for your situation, well, seems pretty comfortable to me.
You must know something about it. You're the one who's keeping me here.
Yeah, well, that's questionable for a start, isn't it? We might well discuss that for a bit.
I don't want to discuss anything. I want some action.
Well, you'd better act then, hadn't you, sir?
I can't act. How can I act locked up here all the time? I've tried everything I know. Official action is what I want.
Ah, well, again, sir, you see, that's nothing to do with me. You must approach the relevant official there. We all have our own little row to hoe, as you might say.
And who is the relevant official?
Ah, well, there you have me too, sir. Not my field at all.
What exactly is your field, for heaven's sake?
Just being here with you, sir. Keeping you happy.
Well, you're not succeeding, are you? In fact, you're just about as complete a failure as you could be.
No, you don't have to say that, do you, sir? You could have some consideration of my feelings.
Do you know what I wish? I wish you'd go right away.
Now, I could do almost anything, sir. Satisfy your most inconsequential or extravagant whim. I can't do that, sir.
Am I in prison?
Does it look like a prison to you, sir?
I don't even remember how I got here. All I can remember is that I woke up one day and I found myself here in this room with you.
I call it very comfortable myself. Even elegant.
Place is falling to pieces.
Plenty to read, too.
Most of those books haven't been opened in years. The dust is inches thick.
Are you a reading man, sir?
I've read about half of them.
Well, what more could you ask for than to sit down quietly and plough your way through the other half? For the sake of completeness, as it were. Acres and acres of printed wisdom, sir. Pictures to look at, songs to sing, and who knows what flourishing little plants you might turn up.
I'm not short of ways of spending my time, thank you.
You take this one, for instance. A History of Western Thinking by Professor Lee Chang-woo of the Shanghai University. 2,500 pages. Oh, dear. Now, that is a shame, isn't it?
Must be a way out of here. When he came in, he has to sleep sometimes. I must get outside. I could begin to work again in here. I'm going round in circles.
Here's a really worthwhile task for you, sir. Reassemble these pages that I've so foolishly dropped and confused on the floor here. Reconstitute, as it were, this Chinese gentleman's intellectual egg that ought to consume a few pleasant and instructive months, especially as half the pages don't seem to be numbered.
Thank you. I've better things to do with my time.
Oh, have you? Well, I'm very glad to hear that, sir. Don't like to see you brooding about. Frankly, your sort get very boring when you brood. You can be quite entertaining, too, and I appreciate that, because after all, my job's almost as boring as yours, you know.
I am in prison, aren't I?
You would like to discuss that a bit further, wouldn't you?
No, of course I'm in prison. Doors locked, corridors that lead nowhere, windows barred, no answers to any of my questions. It's the full Kafka situation.
Oh, no, sir, that's not a precise analogy at all, sir.
What do you know about it? Anyway, why not?
Well, you don't get many laughs in Kafka, so anyway, there's me.
Yes, there's you, a guard in uniform.
Oh, well, Salvation Army officers wear uniforms, sir, so do ringmasters. Most guards these days ride at the back of trains. Here. Do I strike you as one of nature's jailers, sir?
Where on earth am I? What place is this in the world that keeps writers in prison?
Surely I should be more severe by your rules, sir. Hard-set jaw, a sadistic eye, rimless spectacles at least. No, it's no good my trying. It only makes my teeth ache. Oh, by the way, sir, do you mind if I call you Serge? I find Sir a bit formal.
Well, my name's not Serge.
Not Serge. Now, there you do surprise me. You chaps are usually a Serge of some description, I find.
Russia. That's it. I'm in Russia.
All right, then. Where's the samovar? Any snow on my boots, is there? No, my dear fellow. It's too warm, isn't it? Wrong decorative style altogether.
But Eastern Europe?
Now, I lack the irony for a Slav.
South Africa?
No, you'll be black and I'll be kicking you.
Brazil?
I haven't even mentioned Pelly.
Somewhere repressive.
How about England?
No, they don't keep writers in prison in England.
So they don't. Can't be there then, can we?
But where?
Could I suggest that we abandon this line of inquiry, sir? Very likely to prove fruitless.
You know, during the day when the curtains are drawn, all I can see is a green field and a line of lime trees. It could be anywhere.
Not Alaska.
No, not Alaska.
You might consider, for instance, whether perhaps prison isn't the best place for you.
I beg your pardon?
No, I mean, it seems to me at least arguable that the publication of a first book or the performance of a first play ought to entail an automatic prison sentence, and each time the offence is repeated, the sentence should be renewed.
You're mad. That's it. I'm in a lunatic asylum.
No, but I mean, it is just possible, isn't it, that you are the first to suffer under this new edict, a sort of trial imprisonment, so to speak.
The freedom to write and make public one's views is the first freedom of a civilized society. As soon kill a man as kill a good book. Men have fought and given their lives to be able to express themselves freely.
Oh, yeah, it's been an epic struggle, all right. And now blokes like you are free to do more or less what you like, aren't you? I mean, you can write out your sexual fantasies in loving detail, or call for the public execution of the entire Conservative Party, or encourage an actor to demonstrate the heart-stopping beauty of his penis without fear of anything more than the odd gasp.
Look, all freedoms are open to abuse. The genuine artist suffers because of the charlatans and camp followers who tag along behind him.
Oh, Serge, which are you, by the way? Huh? Are you the genuine artist? You one of the charlatans and camp followers who do the tagging?
I've always tried to be sincere.
Yeah, but that's what they all say, you see. I've yet to meet one of your sort who looks me straight in the eyes. Says, frankly, mate, I'm one of the charlatans.
My work speaks for me.
Yeah, but I've got no taste. There's the rub, you see, Serge. You all look alike to me.
I do wish you'd stop calling me Serge.
No, you see, Serge, you look at it from where I stand. My father was a famous loafer. My grandfather, one of the great layabouts of his day. So I am related to a vast clan of idle and totally useless uncles and cousins, and I reckon if you trace my lot right back into the dark, backward and abysm of time, so to speak, you'd find that my ancestor was the one who was always leaning on his spade. See, I am a child of the great toiling mass. And do you know what our great aim in life has always been?
Oh, what?
To get through it with the least possible trouble and the greatest possible pleasure. See, and blokes like you, with your demands for the freedom of your priceless souls, you're a bit of a nuisance. I mean, no one minds if you rave away quietly in the corner or even join in the job that's being done, but you don't, you see. Stand there screaming, I disagree, and stamping your little creative feet and generally making a bloody great nuisance of yourself to anyone who's daft enough to listen to you.
Sometimes we have to be the conscience of the people.
No, that is all very old hat now, you see, Serge. Quite apart from which, the nature of conscience depends upon the nature of belief, which is variable these days, to say the very least. I mean, if there are no accepted standards of action, all you're doing is screaming out your own little opinion and pretending it's significant. So the world has to take steps to deal with you one way or another. See, in the lands where most people are comfortable, well, it's easier to let you rave on, dancing and singing and screaming to your heart's content. You can be quite amusing too, while people get on with the serious business of passing their time and enjoying themselves. But in the other places, where most people are underfed, too ill, badly housed, and there's a big job to be done, if you get in the way of that job, you get stamped on. And a bloody good thing too, I reckon.
No, listen,
I've seen you in the past, rabbiting on about liberty and the freedom of the individual to people who are ragged and half-starved. No. That's how it seems to me, Serge. You're a luxury to be afforded when luxuries are in season. Something to relax with after the day's labour. But when there's a world to be made, to the people with the real work, you're irrelevant.
Look, what do you call the real work?
Well, the sort of thing that people like me have to do when we're not keeping an eye on people like you. I mean, say, for instance, if you're building a house.
A house, all right.
Well, somebody's got to break his back digging up the ground, making the trenches to start with. Someone's got to mix up the cement, cart the bricks up the ladder, saw up the timbers, plaster up walls. That is the real work, you see. Making things so that something is there that wasn't there before.
Now, somebody has to draw up the plans,
Architect.
and somebody must cost them.
Economist.
And somebody before him must decide what work needs doing and where it should be done.
Politician.
And somebody before him has to decide whether or not the work needs doing at all. And whether it is relevant to the secret places of the spirit where all the real decisions occur.
Don't tell me. You.
Us.
Seems a lot of fuss to me just to get a house built.
Behind every action there is an intention. Behind every intention, an idea. And behind that idea, no matter how far back, a man with a pen in his hand.
Yeah, well, you can't get much vaguer than that, I suppose.
Listen, didn't you ever want to be a writer?
Where I went to school, mate, learning to write was all part of the sentence. Something went on in a punishment block. No, I was a Meccano man myself. Never saw the point of writing when you could be doing.
Oh, to me it was the most marvellous thing in the world. To be able to say things in a way that people could understand and never forget. So that when people tried stumblingly to express themselves, they reached out for your words. Do you know that my teenage heroes were Keats, Shakespeare, Milton, Donne, Lawrence and Thomas Hardy, Tolstoy? I lived in a world of my own creating, and they were my familiar companions. I read like a glutton, stuffing myself with every bit of information I could get about my chosen heroes.
I was a bit of a boxer myself. Called myself the Stepney Slayer. No one was very impressed.
And then one marvellous day, I discovered I could do it too. I wrote a poem. It was a very bad poem. But it was just as though someone had switched all the lights on inside my head. There were my few lines of schoolboy verse to prove that I too could speak.
I had about 8 fights in all. Lost a lot. The Slayer was slain.
I became a dreamer. Very intense. The apostle of the inner life. I wore dark blue from scarf to shoes and took to looking at people with large, sad eyes and intensely spiritual smiles. My verse was obscure, sensual, fragmentary. I walked through the world like a blind man, my eyes totally fixed on the blackness within. While wars were fought, regimes rose and fell, people lived their lives and suffered and died in their millions all around me.
So I thought, if I can't knock people about for money, I'd do it for love. So I applied for the police.
Till one day, suddenly, I realized that I was not alone in the world. There was no definite event, just a feeling growing inside me that there were others too to be considered. And that when I walked across a crowded street, I was not just one man alone in a crowd, but that we were all alone there, sharing our loneliness merely by existing at the same time on the same planet. It was like waking up after a dream. I saw myself as a man again, as well as a voice. A man responsible for and to other men like me, not just an object in a void making incantations to the darkness. Society needs its thinkers and feelers just as much as it needs its architects, bricklayers, trenchmen. I saw that what I had to say could help people to live both in society and in their secret hearts. And that the main function of an artist is and always has been to unite men with history. To keep the balance true between the one man locked in his personal cell and all men in their cities and states. I know now what I am for and how I can be useful. Suddenly I found myself here.
With me.
With you.
A failed pugilist from Stepney and vocational policeman. Certainly, as experiences ours have almost nothing in common.
So you see, I must get out.
Ah, yes, the world needs you.
There's a crisis going on out there, and I am in here unable to help.
When all the time you have the solution they all need. If only they'll listen to you, is that it?
Let me tell you what's happening. The economists, the
The statisticians and the sociologists are taking over.
And you reckon it should be you takes over?
There are so many of us now, it's all so complicated that we can only be comprehended as tables on a sheet or figures in a sum. The world is full of clever fellows in white coats and dark suits doing their sums. And while the little wheels turn into place and the electric currents crackle round the circuits and the figures clock up on the dial, something is dying. Or perhaps being killed. Something misshapen and lumpy, forest-born, that moves deeply and sluggishly in regions we haven't even mapped. Something not easily subject to analysis or reducible to an equation. I have to speak for the hunchbacks and dwarfs, the albinos and seven-footers, the men with a strawberry mark on the left leg. I have to assert their humanity and the validity of all the things that pass through their minds just before dawn.
So one way or another, it's a great shame you're stuck here, isn't it?
You could let me out, couldn't you?
Who, me?
If you wanted to.
Whoever gives you that idea.
I think you could.
Well, can't you see this uniform? I'm official, I am.
You can hire them anywhere. I think it's up to you.
Well, you better treat me with a bit more respect than, hadn't you? Well, you've been carrying on. I'm likely to keep you here for life. I have got feelings too, you know, and some of your sharper thrusts have not gone unnoticed.
Look, what do you want me to do?
There you go again, you see. Contempt implied in your every syllable and inflection.
I'm sorry.
How can you get your own way with the least possible trouble? That's all you're thinking about, isn't it? Am I right?
I'm sorry.
As far as you're concerned, I'm Cerberus, and you're chucking me a sop. Well, I may not have 3 heads and a load of teeth, but I've got one head, and it's not full of sawdust. I'll tell you something else. I've got a large bunch of keys and all.
Keys?
Aha, that makes you perk up a bit, doesn't it?
Look, will you please tell me what you want me to do?
Why don't we just sit down and talk about it for a bit, eh? I like talking. I've got a far-ranging and questing mind under this shiny hat, and the intellectual man needs sustenance just as much as the gut, you know.
Good God.
Pardon?
I said good, good.
Ah, good. Well, I'm glad you're looking forward to it, too. Now then, shall we continue the discussion where we left off? You had just asserted, I believe, your faith in the value of the artist to society, especially in these complex modern times.
What do I have to do to get out of here?
Persuade me, Serge, persuade me.
And how do I do that?
Well, time hangs very heavy on your hands in this job, you know. A little entertainment wouldn't come amiss. I mean, for instance, do you know any funny poems, little songs?
Songs?
Or do you do card tricks or dance a bit?
No.
Well, what do you do? I mean, you must do something.
Well, I used to play a Bach prelude once.
Oh.
It was a long time ago.
Well, it's better than nothing, I suppose. Right, carry on then.
What? Look, if I keep you amused...
We'll see, won't we? We'll see.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Bach's Prelude in C major. By Bach. Look, half of these notes don't play at all.
Yeah. And the other half ain't much cop either, are they? Is that all part of the act then, is it?
Well,
I tell you what, you work on this, you'll bring the house down, you will. No, you'll have to do better than that. I'm beginning to get bored already.
No, please,
Because
listen.
if I get very bored, I might just walk right out and lock you in.
No, wait, please.
Well,
It was Christmas Day in the workhouse. The snow was falling fast.
I know that, and the rest of it's obscene.
Well, I can't think, is it? I just can't think.
I'm off.
No, please, listen to me. There was a young lady from Tottenham who'd no manners or else she'd forgotten them. At tea at the vicar's,
She ripped off her knickers because she explained she felt hot enough.
Yes.
Yes, I learned that one at school.
Well, this is ridiculous. What do you think I am, some kind of a low comedian?
No, I didn't say you had to be funny, you see. I just want to be absorbed, thrilled, taken out of myself. That is supposed to be your job, isn't it?
Once upon a time...
There was these 3 bears, and it was all to do with this porridge and these chairs. I'm a little bit old for fairy stories.
No, it wasn't going to be a fairy story. I was merely using the traditional beginning.
Well, why not try a bit of originality for a change?
All right. Now, you come here and you sit down and prepare yourself for a nice, long story. Now, this may sound like a fairy story to you, but I do assure you it isn't. It is very adult and full of deep meaning.
Is it? Yeah.
Now, let me conjure up for you a picture drawn in England long ago, when history and imagination were one in the minds of men. We are at the court of King Arthur, at Camelot. It is Christmas time. One might almost be looking at a tapestry.
Didn't have tapestries at the court of King Arthur.
Or an illuminated manuscript. Knights in cloaks and silver armour. Ladies in steeple hats and veils. Long dogs stretched under tables. All the knights of the Round Table are present. The festivities have almost ended when in comes
this bloody great big bloke, bright green all over. Boom, boom, goes out with his head tucked underneath his arm. Sorry, I've heard it before.
Ah. A play.
Ah, play.
A curtain rises on a small, bare room. 2 men are alone on the stage. There is a long silence.
A rustle of stockings and an indefinable sense of menace in the air.
You've seen it.
Harold Pinter and his 500 imitators. Forget it.
The ultimate play.
Oh, well, that sounds promising, yeah.
The curtain rises on darkness. One light dimly reveals a coffin. The curtain slowly descends.
And then the lights go up to reveal all the audience stone dead, having been bored beyond human endurance over the last few months. Sorry.
Look, I can't go on like this. You don't take me seriously.
Really exercising my right to criticism, you see. You must think yourself lucky I don't boo.
Well, I'm sure that if you give me the chance...
You can't expect me to sit through the film when I've already seen it, can you? I mean, as a great genius once said, you've got to get them by the short hairs in the first few minutes. If I don't like you, see, I just switch you off.
Well, I do have a lecture I could give if that wouldn't be too heavy for you.
What do you think, I'm a bleating moron? You've got a cheek. I mean, I like the idea of a lecture. That sounds very promising to me.
Oh, good. Well, I have been working on it, you see, while I've been here. If you'll just give me a few seconds to put it in order...
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, you know. I'll tell you what. Why not use the plinth as your lectern?
Oh, thank you.
Sure the little lady won't mind. Right, I'm ready.
Drama... Hold it. Thank you.
Whatever.
Drama in the marketplace.
Great title.
What?
I said it's a great title.
Thank you.
Right,
Now,
carry on.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Well, don't mind me.
No, I won't. In the 15th century...
Oh, no.
What's the matter now?
Well, you can't start like that.
Listen, do you want me to give this lecture or don't you?
Of course I do, but who wants to hear about the 15th century?
It's very relevant to my point.
How can it be relevant? It's donkeys years ago.
It is an opening gambit.
Well, scrub round the opening gambit, get to the point.
But you see, that it is part of the point. I go on to say that as in the 15th century, plays were performed on the back of carts in market squares, and everyone saw them, so today everyone sees television, and plays are no longer the province of an intellectual elite.
What else was you going to say?
Well, that's all, really. But I do develop the argument, you see, in some detail, and I do give examples.
What's the point of that? I mean, you've said it, I've understood it. Let it go at that.
Well, there's a little more to it than that.
No, there isn't. It's just a very short lecture, that's all. Pungent and concise. I like it. If all lecturers are like yours, I'd learn a lot more, a lot quicker.
I give up.
Why give up when I've just complimented you on your brevity?
I suppose I shall have to die here. I can't keep up with you.
That's a shame. See, I was really enjoying that.
Look, I have to think about what I do. I cannot make things up on the spur of the moment just to keep you amused.
Poor old Serge. Total despair. Unable to get through at all. And so out of date.
What do you mean, out of date?
With his touching belief in the destiny of the creative artist. Oh, yes, the unacknowledged legislator of mankind. The one with a personal hotline to the white goddess, whoever she might be. A sort of walking Delphic oracle. Oh, yes, very impressive, isn't it? Very good public relations. It won't do any more.
What do you mean?
You're not working for a tiny group of like-minded people anymore, you know. There's millions to consider, and most of them's more like me than like you. I mean, there's times when you hardly think we speak the same language.
Listen, I can't change. I can't simplify. If people want to use what I give, then they have to work for it. Now, I have to work hard to make these things of mine. Art is not pre-digested pap for babies. It is food for men. It needs hard chewing.
You could change or not, Serge. As you please. That's your privilege, but I'm not talking about that.
But you've just said...
No, it's not just you, Serge. It's the relationship. That's what's changed, you see, the relationship.
No, it hasn't changed. It's just the same.
This is the age of every man, not the age of heroes and philosophers anymore. You're employed now, sir, just like everyone else, and if we don't like you, we give you the sack. And I'll tell you something else, too.
What?
You don't hold the monopoly of opinion anymore. One man's opinion is as good as anyone else's now. We all have the right to judge.
Yes, but opinion and judgment are based on knowledge of the subject. Certainly every man has a right to his own opinion, but if he has no knowledge of the subject, that opinion is worthless.
Wrong. No such thing as worthless today. If an opinion belongs to a man, it's his, and by definition as good as the next man's. You start asserting an absolute value and knowledge, well, you're no Democrat, Serge. And you wouldn't want me to accuse you of being that, would you? I mean, if knowing something about a subject is to be the criterion, where are we? What about our elections, our public figures? Mediocrities to a man. What about our critics, eh? Our pop stars, our journalists? I mean, the whole framework of society will crumble. See, ignorance is the king post, as it were, that keeps the whole edifice standing.
Listen, if what you say is true, I might just as well be dumb and throw my typewriter in the river.
Or do something about it. Still, more of that anon, eh? Let's first distinguish, shall we, Serge, 3 areas of the world. Because it's not the same in every one, is it? Well, which one are you in, eh?
What?
Well, I think we've agreed to suspend judgment on that one. I think it'll emerge as we go along.
Of course, it is possible that I'm dead, isn't it? That this is some kind of hell, especially reserved for writers. Good God. An eternity with you. It would take a particularly malevolent devil to think that one up.
Yeah, well, ignoring that slur upon my company. Let us assume, shall we, that we are in what is generally known as the communist part of the world.
No, please, don't start talking to me about Eastern Europe. I do have several friends who are writers there. I know the pressures under which they work.
All right, then, enlighten us. Describe them.
The state dictates artistic policy. Any deviation from that policy or open criticism of the state usually results in imprisonment.
Is that so?
Yes, you see, it does have one great advantage.
Oh, what's that?
The writer has power. People care what he has to say passionately. Where freedom of expression is limited, those who can speak are listened to with great attention. And when the battle starts, the writer is in the front line.
Where the most casualties occur.
Yes.
And you'd like that power too. I mean, you'd willingly swap places with them, I imagine. No? Why not?
Because I remember Sinyavsky and Daniel. I remember Isaac Barber, Mandelstam.
I remember Katayev, Tretyakov, and a host of others whose names we don't even know. I remember Akhmatova standing in a prison line in Leningrad month after month, along with all the other blank-faced mothers and daughters, sisters and wives. I remember insane wards especially reserved for poets. The thousands of unknown writers throughout the world in jails at this very moment while we sit here expressing our sympathy. I don't want to join them.
That's a bit of a come-down, isn't it? For the unacknowledged legislator and Delphic Oracle.
Nobody chooses martyrdom, not writers or anybody else. But I do hope that if it chooses me, I have the courage to endure it.
So do I, Serge. So do I. Because it's never entirely out of the question, is it?
Well, writers have been persecuted from Socrates onwards. There is nothing new in that relationship.
Nothing. Except its totality, Serge. Its organisation. Its efficiency. 20th century is very good at organising things. Especially police forces. Don't worry. Door's still locked. Keys are here. They're all here. You've seen them before.
Let me out, please! Please let me out! I must get out, please! Please let me out, please! Please, please, please! Please!
Of course, if we were in the underdeveloped part of the world, as people rather tactfully call those millions of miles of human misery, it'd be different again, wouldn't it?
Oh, my God!
I mean, there's places there where spending a time in prison or dying in your 20s full of army bullets is rather like getting your degree. I mean, no one takes you very seriously there until you can show your credentials.
Listen, if I lived in Rhodesia or South Africa, I would sell my typewriter and buy a machine gun.
Brave words, Serge, brave words.
Well, I hope I mean them.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you make a good guerrilla. I bet you write a stunning diary, too, if you survived, which I doubt.
So do I. Shooting people isn't my line.
See, but the most interesting speculation by far is to consider your place in what we sportingly call the Western democracies.
In the Western democracies, I am free to write what I like.
Now, that is absolutely true and not to be denied.
And yet,
And yet what?
nothing. Unease. A sense that all is not right. It's so difficult to explain.
Because it is here, Serge, that we move into the 20th century, or perhaps the 21st, and the new relationship comes into operation.
No, it's the same problem.
In the West, everything is for sale, and art and artists are no exception. I mean, how can you live except by selling what you can do?
Yes, but you see, we all have to create our own audience and please them in the best way we can.
So either the party tells you what to do, or public demand does likewise. Either way keeps you very effectively within the system.
Yes, but I can still write. Even if I don't sell, nobody stops me.
Nobody notices you neither. The communist literary underground circulates unpublished work, and there it matters. You tried doing it in England.
I don't need to. Anything good will make its way eventually. Nobody starves in garrets these days.
Oh, no, writers don't have to starve these days. They can always be found a lucrative job somewhere or other.
What exactly does that smirk mean?
The media, Serge. The mass media. I knew you'd get around to me in the end. Vast new ways of reaching people. Of feeding an undiscriminating public composed of everybody. Think of that, Serge. Everybody, not noble patrons anymore, not the Victorian bourgeoisie or Prince Esterhazy or a tense group of thin-faced intellectuals in Bedford Park, but Charlie the grocer and Fred who works a lathe, and Henry's got a little car business, been going downhill for years, and Henry's mum who lives alone and watches 4 or 5 hours a night, and Sam who's black and drives a train. It's nothing much, your little piece, you know, just an hour of screen time. After the news, maybe, or before it's a knockout, or maybe it's interrupted every 20 minutes for a little song about instant coffee. Or maybe there you are in all the arty magazines, you know, doing a little bit of chat, telling them all how important it is, while they read it with one eye at 11s with their coffee and bickies. Part of the entertainment's business. That's all you are now, Serge, mate. That's all. No more, no less. So forget your unacknowledged legislating. Stuff your white goddess. Board up your oracle. Just get up there with the clowns and the jugglers and the airy kids with the guitars. Go on, give us a laugh, mate. Pass the time, give us a thrill.
No.
What do you mean, no? That's it, Serge. That is the world as it is today. Come on, take your clothes off. Go on, give us a thrill. Titillate me. Write about sex. Hey, get your actors to do it on stage. Film it in close-up. Become an erotic specialist. Oh, there you'll really be performing a public service, won't you? Or should I say, a pubic service.
I can't do it.
Oh, he can't do it. What a shame. Poor old Serge.
Entertainment. Entertainment. You wave that word at me like a flag as though it explains everything. But it isn't quite as simple as that, is it? That one word is a mask that covers a multitude of faces. One of those faces is a man absorbed. Mind, spirit, feelings. The whole man. Well, I write for him with my whole self. I give him all I can. But he has always been there, and he always will be there. The media weren't created for him. It won't change its nature for him. And he is not their prime target. Their target is another face. A face with a permanent, dazed smile. For that face, entertainment is a way of passing the time, without thought, without feelings, without sympathy. It's anesthesia for those who don't want to know or can't bear to look. And when it presents us with pictures of starved women, burned babies, hanged men, well, what is that but just another part of the show? The punchy bit. I mean, it can't possibly be real, can it, there in the corner of the room, or on the big screen, or the open page? You know, the communists used to say that religion was the opium of the people. But that's out of date. Entertainment does the job nowadays and does it so much better.
Serge, I despair of you. Really, I do.
And so it goes on, day after day, every minute of the day. Entertainment. To keep us in our place, content with the world as it is. We turn the switch, we open the page. It seems to me that the world is becoming divided into two kinds of people, the entertainers and the entertained. And perhaps one day soon the entertainers will take over. A lovable personality will become Prime Minister. And in the background, the program planners will make the decisions that really matter, while the rest of us just sit back, happily looking and listening.
But you're part of it, Serge. You are one of these entertainers. In fact, you're the prime sinner in this catalogue of crimes.
No longer. Not anymore. Let me tell you about entertainment, since you don't seem to know. Let me tell you how the Olympic Games were held in Mexico and televised throughout the world to an excited public who sat glued to their screens. Barely 1 week before this brotherly farce began, 300 students were gunned down by the Mexican army in the square of the Three Cultures. But the big show had to go on. And so the athletes ran and threw and jumped over 300 fresh graves. And the commentators chattered on, describing this beautiful new stadium built while 3/4 of the population of Mexico lives in huts. The one moment of sanity when 3 black men raised their hands and lowered their heads as if to apologize. Well, if that is entertainment, and if my work is part of that, then I want nothing of it. If art does not lacerate and burn your fingers when you touch it, then let us have done with art. If culture is to be the polite pastime of leisured intellectuals with time on their hands while the world goes mad, then let us burn all the books. Let us break up all the pianos. Let us tear down all the pictures. Let us topple all the statues. And let us get back to first principles. Men, human beings, and the lives we make them lead. And if we see a world full of misery and pain, while one half grows fat and lazy as the other half starves, then let us write plays and draw pictures full of misery and pain, so that when you see that misery and pain, you feel it in your own guts, for anything else is beneath the dignity of civilized man.
Marvellous, Serge. Absolutely marvellous. I mean, what could be more truly entertaining than the spectacle of you bearing your soul? You see, society likes nothing better than a good kick in the guts. The way you're going on, lad, you'll be top of the ratings within a week.
And as for you...
Did I ever tell you about the dedicated young novelist who wrote a searing novel about poverty which made him a millionaire?
You are stupid and undiscriminating. You're happier with pap and rubbish than anything that is real and takes agony to make. Get out of here! I don't want you! I'd rather be alone!
Well, It's up to you, isn't it?
Peace. Silence. Now, to begin. A novel. A huge novel. The history of my times. How but would I ever get it published from here? And who would read it? A play. No. A play needs actors and an audience. Poem. A poem is very private. Fine thing. No, even a poem needs a reader. Just one reader. Silence.
You never said what you wanted. Warm milk, hot chocolate or coffee?
Warm milk, please.
Right.
Oh, please don't go. Come and sit here for a bit. I'm trying to make up my mind whether to write a play, a novel, or a poem, and I can't decide.
No use asking me, is it? Stupid, undiscriminating lover of rubbish and pap I am, if I remember.
I'm sorry. Paranoia is our occupational disease.
I think perhaps prison is the best place for you. See, here we all are. All we want to do is to lead our own lives with as little trouble as possible. Just want to be happy in our own little way.
Happiness is too easy.
For you, maybe. Just get this through your head, will you? We don't want our noses rubbed in the truth like naughty little dogs who've done our business on the carpet. Much nicer just sitting here thinking our daily thoughts with a cup of tea and a bicky. We start making a fuss, we'll stop listening. That is the bargain between us, and you've got to keep your side of it.
You won't go out again and lock me in, will you?
You start shouting about and boring me, I will.
Well, I'll try not to. After all, There's no point in talking to myself. Is there?